too later.
Eeny, which one's me?
I didn't remember where I stuck you.
This is for you.
Alright, thanks. Is it right if I put candy bars over there for people? They're individually wrapped, so.
I feel special, I have the table tonight. All this space.
Never noticed.
Howdy. I think you're waiting for a cover there.
Running out of time.
I think you're right there. I did the same thing. Meeny, miny, someone's me.
Please tell me I'm on the front.
I'm surprised I'm not. Normally I always end up there.
Here's timber cutting notice for your town.
Okay.
That's a mail it to you, Mike, to you tonight.
What's that?
John Andrews online, so he's not coming. So, I guess, and, Angie's not coming either, looks like. There's a spot for you, 'cause John's not coming.
Yes, I'm online. Somebody told me no one was down here. Never seen him.
I haven't seen him.
You have a spot, right?
Do you want that, or?
Just have a box and stuff for it? Get one that one redundant.
Easy.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, everybody's on, everybody's here. Chris,
I don't think.
Bill,
You don't think he does the work?
What's that?
you don't let me guess the word. What, did you get tired of that?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, I guess we're ready to go here. I'll call this, Wednesday, September 16th, board meeting to order. Being held in the boardroom and on Zoom, and properly noticed and complies with Wisconsin statutes. Roll call, please.
Michael Wright? Rebecca Hansen?
Here.
Chris Winkler?
Here.
Paul Hook?
Here.
Michelle Pittman?
Here.
Tessa King?
Here.
Bill Ingram?
Here.
Tom Miller?
Here.
John Andrews?
Here.
Kevin Kosak?
Here.
John McDonough?
Here.
Angie Baxell?
Here.
All right, all 12 are present.
Thank you. Stand and we'll recite the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Approval of agenda, we got one change, we're gonna scratch number 9, resolution. Any other changes, we'll leave that way, scratch number 9. Public comments regarding listed agenda items. Any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 6. We got recognition of Nolan Henry's retirement for maintenance technician. Nolan, you can come forward here. Pam, I know she's worked with you a lot longer than I have, and I've known you for a long time, and I'm sure everything was meticulously done. I think Pam will stand for that too, so thank you. Thank you.
So this is to recognize Nolan. He's been here since 2011, so 9 years. I've had the honor to work with him 7 years, I believe now. So Nolan has always been that happy, smiling face, attempting to maintain this building. That can be a challenge at times. And he always had a smile on his face, even when we asked him to do things such as be our grill master for an employee potluck, and he gladly agreed and did that with a smile also. So we will definitely miss him and all his contributions and hard work. So thank you, Nolan.
Okay. Thanks, Nolan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda items, minutes of the last board meeting. Any additions or corrections, or entertain a motion to approve?
Make that motion. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Michelle, second by Paul. Roll call, please.
Michael Wright?
Yes.
Rebecca Hansen?
Yes.
Chris Winkler?
Yes.
Paul Hook?
Yes.
Michelle Pittman?
Yes.
Tessa King?
Yes.
Bill Ingram?
Yes.
Tom Miller?
Yes.
John Andrews?
Yes.
Kevin Kosak?
Yes.
John McDonough?
Yeah.
Angie Baxell?
Yes.
12 yeses.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, we'll start with the reports, committee reports. Let's start with law enforcement.
Okay, we had our meeting September 1st at
3 o'clock. We had a communication projects update.
I can't hear at all.
Okay, I'll speak up.
Same here in this end. No idea what's being said.
We had a communication project update on the tower. The power is to the meter. Sheriff Warner met with the Wabasha County Sheriff to pay the 30-year lease, which was $1. And now we have wrong part, which was received for the radio equipment. And it'll take about 12 weeks to receive the correct part, pushing the deadline back to December. Report administrative committee on the robot was ordered. And our next meeting is October 5th at 3 o'clock.
Thanks, Kevin. Anybody got any questions for Kevin?
I have one question. So the part that pushes the project back to December, who is overseeing this project?
Joe is overseeing it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the land conservation report, extension. Angie, please.
Yep, okay. So we met on Monday, 14th, just a couple days ago. We had educator reports from the extension department. We had a budget review and approval that will be passed on to the admin committee. So that was actually for both the extension department and also the land conservation department. And other departments. Hold on, I'll get to that. So let's see, we had some updates from the NRCS. Jen Redder, she's in position there. The Silver Birch Road repair, we had to do a budget modification for that to make sure that the road could be repaired. The money did come out of the contingency fund. Land and water management plan, we will have a public hearing next month. It will be on the day of our meeting. Let's see, that will be on October 12th. We went over the budget. Like I said, there's all the budgets for emergency department, solid waste, all the departments. We have a lot of little departments within ours. We had a budget modification for the recycling and solid waste, yard waste grinding department project. Let's see, Ryan Yerington presented some of the pictures, and so we discovered that there was this large pile, and so we're going to use extra money available since there was no clean sweep this year to grind up all the yard waste. It's just sitting there right now. We also moved to purchase a plotter and scanner for Maria Nelson and her. Well, she explained to us how we needed it. So we bought it for their department, but also pretty much the whole government center is able to use it. Let's see here. I think that was pretty much it. Oh, and we're looking for nominations for the Conservation Farmer of the Year. So our next meeting date is dated October 12th. Any questions?
Thank you, Angie. Anybody got any questions for Angie? Hearing none, we'll go on to Human Services. Tessa, please.
Human Services met on August 24th, and we had veterans to start. We discussed a change of hours. This had been discussed prior to COVID, but she never actually switched anything over because of COVID and all the changes that came with that. So now she readjusted and it has started implementing the changes as of, I believe, September 1st. And that left about 2.5 hours that she could utilize on Wednesdays for meetings and other things that could come up, which resulted in a teleworking agreement that we approved to move forward for her to utilize, to not have to come in for that 2.5 hours if she needs to do a meeting and can zoom in for that, etc. And then we moved into the human services, and we had an update on the hiring of the administrative manager. Stacy has started and been doing a great job. This was actually her first meeting with us. We did an update because they had given me permission as part of the interview committee to move forward with that, so we were just updating the committee on that. The child abuse and neglect partnership is unfortunately coming to an end, so we are exploring new options for that. It was due to a budgeting issue, and other counties had pulled out of that partnership, resulting in the inability to continue funding it. And then we discussed the need of a new parent aid in the future. It's something they started exploring because of the cost of the contracting that we currently have has increased due to a change of contracting and losing somebody that we were using that was significantly less in cost. So looking at doing that in-house instead. We did discuss the resignation of Donna Julep as the board member. So we're still looking for another citizen board member. And then we discussed some telework requests for the department. Our next meeting is September 28th at 5:30, and that's joint with Buffalo, just to discuss some of the programs that we share.
Thank you, Tessa. Any questions for Human Services, Tessa? Hearing none, we'll move on. I'll do highway. We met yesterday morning. We had our township reports and communication, and I feel it's going very well. There's been a build on this, but it's taking off, and I feel more connected to the townships already, because we've had no communications hardly at all. Construction update, they're paving, are going to be paving in the Frankfurt Township, the city of Pepin, and Lima, and they started to do our county project on ZX in Waterville. The next thing we talked about was we okayed or talked about the bike maintenance and operation and future ownership of the bike trail. It's been brought to our attention that Excel would probably think about doing something, and we just kind of want to throw our ball in the court and tell them that we might be interested, and we'll see where it goes. We're going to be drafting up a letter. This is also held at the admin, which I'll have the next report here, when we voted to go forward with this. And the letter has not been drafted yet, but will be done soon. So that was, next meeting will be October 6th. So any questions on highway?
Yes, I have a question. Why are we interested in the bike trail?
I'm not saying that we have been involved with the bike trail and put a lot of money into it, on and off, and basically, Excel is expressing interest in possibly transferring ownership. That's all we know right now, and we just wanted to be in the game, and game there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll go on to the administrative meeting. We reviewed staff changes, which we'll see some here tonight. We approved the telework request for the PSO officer, Sherry Peterson. We approved the real living contract. It's been going real well with the employees, according to Mickey. And I already mentioned the bike trail thing, and that's about it. budget stuff, which we'll be seeing here tonight anyway, so. Any questions on the administrative meeting?
I have a question, Tom. Could you tell me if you received any, meaning you, the county received any communication, written form from Xcel Energy? And if so, could you please forward that to myself and any other supervisors that would be interested?
Pam, you on, you could maybe explain it just a little bit.
I'm here and I can answer that. No, we have not received anything in writing from Excel. They have been, the last several years, interested in divesting property that they own. And they've been doing kind of a tiered structure, and now they have gotten to parcels of land such as the one the bike trail is located on. Currently, Xcel Energy owns the land that the bike trail is located on, but Pepin County has an agreement, we maintain and operate the bike trail. So as they're looking at divesting these other pieces of land, that would be one they're looking at divesting. And so they had called, we had verbal conversations relative to what I just said, and they want us to put something in writing formally that we are interested in continuing to maintain and operate a bike trail on that parcel of land and potentially explore ownership options for the county to be able to maintain and operate that portion as a bike trail.
Thanks, Pam. Any more questions?
I'm just curious, Tom, where would you, if you show, if your intent is to show interest, where do you intend to get the funds for that?
We don't know if it's gonna be bought yet or not, that'll be bridge, crossed when we don't know what they wanna do yet.
I understand that, but if the intent is we have interest, what fund would we pull out of, if we were to purchase that?
Good.
I can add, first and foremost, several years ago, we talked about the county asking them for a donation. Secondly, if that doesn't work out, there are some grants that have been out there to apply for, to obtain land for recreational purposes, as well as there's numerous other funding sources we can attempt to pursue. But first, we just have to get that letter out there so Excel can get going internally on the process to do the valuation and start having the discussions to divest that particular piece.
Who owns the bike trail?
Xcel Energy.
The county?
Xcel Energy.
Xcel Energy owns it? Wow.
And the county and some private that
Oh.
put together money to develop the trail. That's all we know. So basically, we're just putting the ball in the court and see where it bounces.
Yeah, right.
And we want to be in the game, the yay and nay. So, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. Now the committee reports. Thanks, everybody. Now the treasurer's report.
I have the health department.
Oh, did I miss you, John? Oh, sorry.
We can have a meeting, Tom, but we do have one scheduled. It was scheduled for the 10th, but we had to put it off for reasons within the department trying to get the budget together. So it is being scheduled. It's scheduled for the 24th.
24th this month. Yeah. Thanks, John. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Must've been an intuition. I knew you didn't have it. No. So, okay, now we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Patty, you on?
I am.
Speak up.
Can everybody hear me tonight?
Yeah. Speak up. Get close to your mic. You're a little soft.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes, but it's just doing it.
Okay.
Not great.
Yeah.
Not great? Okay,
No.
I'll talk as loud as I can. So, I hope each of you received a copy of the annual report.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just give a quick summary of some of the responsibilities of the county treasurer / real property lister's office that are listed on section 1 of the report. First thing is, we receive all of the money belonging to the county. That means when a department generates revenue, they bring the funds down to our office, we verify the amount, generate a receipt and they're responsible for their own. We keep a true and accurate report of all the revenues and expenditures and balance all of the account statements, as well as maintain the county investments. Once the vouchers are approved and the checks are generated, we are responsible for verifying the amounts and mailing out all of the checks. We file various reports to the Department of Revenue and pay out the state portion of the fees that are collected by the clerk of court, register of deeds, and register of probate. We maintain an accurate record of property ownership and land descriptions from documents that are recorded with the Register of Deeds office, and record fire numbers issued by the zoning department on all of the proper parcels. We prepare property assessment rolls for the assessors with accurate ownership information, calculate the mill rates, enter state credits, special charges, and special assessments. We prepare the tax bills and tax rolls for all 11 municipalities in Pepin County. And we prepare tax settlements for the January, February, and August settlement dates. We maintain accurate lottery credit records for individuals that own their home that they live in. Complete and transmit various time-sensitive reports to the Department of Revenue, such as statement of assessment, after each quarter review is held, statement of taxes, first dollar credits, lottery credits, and property settlements. We take tax certificates on September 1st for each year for those parcels that are delinquent, and maintain accurate records of the delinquent taxes and special charges. And we take tax deeds on delinquent properties if found necessary, and prepare, advertise, and sell those properties. Section 2 of the report, the personnel department, in 2019, it was kind of an exciting year. As you know, Nancy Richardson retired on March 30th, and I'm grateful to the board for appointing me to fill that vacant position through the remainder of her term. I then hired Michelle Renderman as my deputy. Section 3, Department Services and Programs. No notable changes from 18 to 19 in services to the residents. The year-end balance in the general checking account at the end of 19 was $250,054.90. The total tax bills printed in 19 were 9,057 parcels. That's an increase of 25 bills from the prior year. And the delinquent taxes at the end of 19 totaled $140,658.11. That was up by $4,236.32. Section 4, current and future years. In 2019, prior to Nancy's retirement, she worked hard on cleaning up delinquent properties eligible for tax deed action. 5 properties were taken by tax deed and sold through Wisconsin surplus, resulting in a profit of $47,801. A summary of each of those properties is attached to that report. A few of the changes to the Treasurer's Office in 19 were, I switched the credit card processing company from Official Payments to GovPayNet. That reduced the fee to the taxpayers by 0.15% using a credit card, and the convenience fee for an electronic check was reduced from $2.50 to $1.50 per transaction. I also drafted an ordinance regarding overpayments and underpayments in the amount of $5 or less, and that ordinance was then passed in January of 2020. So far, it's been working pretty well. I also drafted a policy and form for requests to combine parcels. That was also passed in January of 2020. Future goals are 2020 goals for RCIS training through ProWest has been challenging with our new normal, I guess. But we're still committed to getting back on track with scheduling some of those online trainings for the GIS.
I would also like to start the process of back scanning all of the prior tax and assessment files, but I'm not sure when, of course, that can happen. And in section 5, the financial summary. A few significant revenue figures. We came in under budget by $14,132 in interest on delinquent taxes collected, and $3,511 under budget on penalties on delinquent taxes collected. I believe that was mostly due to properties that were taken by tax deeds. We came in over budget on interest on general fund investments by $15,214. That was a result of the rising interest rates in 2019. We also received $23,794 from the village of Pepin for a TIF closure that we were not aware was coming, and it wasn't budgeted for. So overall, we came in $20,386 over budget in revenue, and $5,217 above the 18 final revenue amount. Budget to actual expenditure figures show that salaries and fringes were over budget by $3,233. I believe that was a result of increase in health insurance allocation. We were under budget in meetings and conventions, supplies, telephone, and printing. Overall, under budget in expenses by $933. However, our expenditures were $18,477, higher in 19 than in 18. The third page of section 5 is a listing of the general fund investment account balances with the average annual percentage yield on each. Also on that page is the communication tower project bond accounts with GMA. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Anybody got any questions?
Any questions?
Any questions for Patty? Thanks again, Patty. Hearing none, we'll move on to the Durant Public Library annual report.
I have a little information on it. She wasn't able to attend. Lori Gillis is the new director for the library. All right. The first page kind of outlines the number of items that are circulated to Pepin County residents who were not served by the library in their communities. 8,218 items, and how it's calculated, it's $6.60 per item, which at a 70% level would be $37,967. Pam, she can explain that calculation a little bit better if she'd like to. Otherwise, the second page is their budget from 20 to 21. It's not changed overly a lot. And then the last section is their annual report for 19. And that has a breakdown of what books, electronic books, different materials were used through the year, or owned at least. I don't have anything else. And what they're requesting in their budget for 21 is that $37,967.
Anybody got any questions that Audrey can answer, or detail, maybe we can get Pam, but anybody got any questions? Everything seems to be pretty straight from last year, all the issues. No questions? We'll move on to the deed, Judge, 1990.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Buffalo Pepin County Circuit Court is one of three courts courts in the state that have 2 counties, Buffalo and Pepin. The general schedule is Mondays, Tuesdays in Grand, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Elma. Buffalo Pepin is part of the judicial district that runs from Pierce on the north all the way down to Grant on the south, and has 17 counties. So we also have an obligation to the district. So we do spend some time in Ellsworth and Neelsville and Whitehall when judges there are substituted or are absent. Organizationally, we have one person, Gina Rick, who's been a long time staff person in the judge's office. She wears a number of very valuable hats. She is the register of probate. She is the judicial assistant. She is the juvenile court clerk. So Gina has a lot of responsibility, and she's the #1 staff for budget in our office. We also work closely with the clerk of court's office, but that is their own office for these purposes. Big news this year, it's not a 19 issue, but catching you up what has happened with COVID. Just like the rest of Pepin County, we were closed up in March. We had a stakeholders group which consisted of people like Ms. Hanson, clerk of court, register and probate, sheriff, human services department, everyone who touches the court system. We had our stakeholder committee on how to, #1, open up for non-jury trial, non-jury hearings. Secondly, jury trials. We submitted our plan in mid-August to the chief judge of our district, and thankfully we were approved. So our plan to reopen for non-jury services is very close. We have intake days when we have all sorts of hearings, initial hearings, status conferences, pleas and sentences. And our first one with expected in-court proceedings will be in, I think it's October the 6th. We had a jury trial scheduled for October the 12th, but that just settled this past week. So our first expected jury trial is now scheduled for December, but at any intake day that can change given the schedule. In terms of projects, project close to everyone's heart is our teen court project. That is a panel group of area high schoolers from Buffalo and Pepin counties. What they do is they have non-violent offenders, teen offenders, mostly like small marijuana charges, alcohol charges, smoking, vaping. They can, on their first offense, they can be diverted to teen court, in which a panel of their peers will pick from a number of options for their consequences. Usually things like community service, writing an essay, taking a class, being part of a service project. Those are dispositions that the teen court can offer. Part of our budget that the county board contributes $5,000 every year is to the Criminal Justice Collaborating Council. That's a group made up of many representatives of district attorneys in both counties, public defenders in both counties, probation and parole, citizen input. County board has staff members. Ms. Hanson has participated. And what they do is they try to provide effective and cost-efficient means of reducing jail population in both Buffalo and Pepin counties. The number one program operated out of that is the Community Justice Sanctions Program, and I'll leave the detailed description to Ms. Bernie, who immediately follows me. Our budget is virtually entirely personnel driven. There are some other things that we have to pay for. Some things are simply out of our control, guardian ad litem fees. For example, if someone needs a protective placement in a nursing home or in an adult family home, or is having mental health crises, there may be times when they are indigent and they simply can't afford their own attorney, and a guardian ad litem is appointed to represent their best interests, all by statute. The county does a lot of that work up front, and then we collect from non-indigent defendants, or excuse me, citizens. So those are basically what we do and what our budget items are. And entertain any questions from the board.
Thank you, Judge. Anybody any questions for Judge Clark?
All right, my thanks to the committee or to the board for all of your support and all of the safety features that the county has provided our court. We're in your debt for that. We're trying to make sure we play our part in keeping Pepin County safe, and with that, I wish you well and good evening.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you. We'll move on then to the Community and Justice Service Annual Report.
Yes, hello, thank you for allowing me to present the 2019 report to the board today. My name is Brenda Burning, for those of you who don't know me. The Community Justice Service, which I refer to often as CJS, has been in existence since August 1st of 2017. We are a court diversion program that provides treatment for non-violent adult offenders whose substance abuse is the contributing factor to their criminal activity. So basically our mission is to decrease the drug and alcohol dependency using established evidence-based practices. Currently our program has 2 full-time employees, 1 case manager and 1 coordinator, which is me. The goals of our program are we provide prompt assessment and treatment, we hold the individual accountable, we work on changing the criminal thinking behaviors, and most importantly, we provide alternatives to incarceration. How do we go about doing that? We do that by completing an assessment to determine the risks and needs of the participant. We also work with the participant to assist in obtaining funding, for example, Badger Care, so we can pay for the assessments. We match the individual with treatment services. Typically, that's an AODA assessment. And then we make sure that the individual complies with the assessment recommendations. We develop a modified case plan for each individual based on their risks and needs, and we also establish goals and tasks. We do provide intensive supervision, and we put all of our participants on a random drug and alcohol testing or a drug sweat patch. Part of our program is we do respond with immediate incentives or sanctions. So as they continue on their sobriety, there are certain incentives that we give them at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year. Just as if there's relapses, then we also have sanctions that we put in place for that. We also assist the individual with their other needs, housing, employment, obtaining driver's license. The CJS is mostly funded by TAD, which is Treatment, Alternative, and Diversion Program, operated by the Department of Justice. Initially, we applied for $112,000 for 5 years through 2021, and then reapplying for the next 5-year schedule. However, in 2019, there were some additional funds available, so I applied for them, and we were one of 5 counties that received additional funding. So I received $13,322 for 2020 and 2021. Those funds were used for transportation, allowing us to lease a vehicle for the CJS program, also to enhance our incentive program. What that looked like is as our clients reach their 1 year, 2 year, 3 year sobriety, we send them to an NA or AA conference, all expense paid. And then we present them with their medallions, and that is really a huge accomplishment. We also invite the family and whoever, other collaborative individuals in their life to this conference. So for the 3 years from 2017 to 2019, we received $336,000 from CAD, and from 2020 to 2021, received $250,000 and some change from CAD. What we ask is $5,000 for each county, which is a total of $10,000 per year. So that's $25,000 for 5 years from the county, which is a pretty good investment for services. Our statistics go, we've served 173 individuals from August 1st through December 31st from 2019. And December 31st, we had 47 active participants. 22 of those participants were on a deferred prosecution agreement, and we have served 38 total deferred prosecution agreements. Just to let you know, that's the program, a deferred prosecution agreement, or if they do a deferred acceptance of guilty plea, it allows a person facing criminal charges to enter into an agreement with the court and then fulfill certain conditions in return for reduced charges or dismissal. And they work with our CGS program. And so that's really the goal, is so they're not charged, or they get the charges dismissed. Some of the statistics that we pointed out, one was we did see when we screened clients, we saw a decrease. From 2018, we screened 121. In 2019, we only screened 95. And we were able to determine the reason why that was is because we had to establish some disqualifiers for those people who could not be considered for the program. Violent offenses is one, that's a statute that's tied to TAD. Sex offenses was another one. Drug dealing charges were another one. If they're already on probation, we don't want to do dual services, but sometimes we have to because they get put on probation in a different county and then they get put on CGS in our counties, and then they end up working with the same person. If they had a warrant for their arrest in a different county, obviously they're going to go out to that county, so we're not going to work with them. And then the previous TAD termination, so if they didn't make it through the program. The CGS does report to CJCC, as Judge Clark had indicated. A few new things in 2019. I think the biggest thing that I'm most proud of is 2 of the CJS participants in 2019 started an NA group in Buffalo County in Cochrane. And they meet every Thursday, and there's usually 7 to 10 people that attend. I know that we're not talking about 2020, but I want to let you know. Just 2 weeks ago, 2 participants in Pepin County started an NA group, and they had 7 participants meeting on Tuesday, so that's super exciting. Other new things is CGS began collaborating with Human Service Department on both Buffalo and Pepin County in an attempt, when we had the same families who were working with the same individuals, we wanted an attempt to reunify families more quickly, thus to try to decrease the cost. So the team approach proved to be effective in 2019. We also collaborated with the Buffalo Pepin Literacy Alliance to provide assistance to the CGS clients in obtaining their GED, resume writing in order to obtain employment, even assistance with reading. There's all kinds of wonderful services that BPLA provides. We also collaborate with Literacy Link, which is provided by Mary Wood, the UW Extension. So she gives us books and some stuffed animals, and then we provide that to the participants to enhance reading to the children. This Literacy Link has also allowed both of our offices to be child-friendly, which has proved to be very convenient, especially if there's a court proceeding and the child is not behaving, then they'll come to our office, and it works really well. Most recently, the CGS program has been working with the jail reentry program called Moving Forward. Ms. Wood obtained some funding on that, and we're working together with Pepin, Dunn, and Buffalo counties to share a certified peer specialist position. And then finally, the veteran and military service members reentry. Mary Wood obtained funding from the UW Innovation Grant. She's working with Dunn County Veteran Service Officer to hire a 35% position to network and conduct focus groups to develop and pilot training for law enforcement justice partners such as CJS. Those are the highlights. I'd like to read the rest of the specifics from the report. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Anybody got any questions? Sounds like a very good program. It's going very well. Any questions?
I got a question. After your programming and treatment are all done, do you have a follow-up program to follow these people after they're off your program to see what the results are after the program is completed?
That's a very good question. That's called recidivism rates, and so we contact them after they've been discharged every 3 months. Our committee determined, and then we measure the recidivism rates. I don't have that number right now available to provide you, but I certainly can get that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Well, thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the clerk of courts annual report. Do we have a clerk of court?
She's on, but she's kind of unmuted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I hope you all had received my annual report in your packets, and I will go over some highlights and what the Office of the Clerk of Circuit Court does. The Clerk of Circuit Court is a constitutional officer that provides a multitude of services to those who come in contact with the court system, including case parties, law enforcement, child support agencies, attorneys, judges, court commissioners, citizen jurors, and the general public. We are considered the custodian of the circuit court records. We manage all information that comes to the court in the form of various legal documents. The duties are performed in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes and Supreme Court rules. We manage all court-ordered financial obligations. We collect all court-ordered fines, fees, costs, and surcharges in criminal, traffic, and non-criminal ordinance cases, as well as recoup attorney's fees paid by the county in criminal or family cases, and distribute the funds to the county treasurer and local municipalities monthly along with a report. We prepare monthly, quarterly, and yearly reports to the state. It is the Clerk of Circuit Court statutory responsibility for the jury management, sending out juror qualification questionnaires, and summoning jurors for trials. The prospective jurors for the county are identified by data sharing between the Wisconsin Director of State Courts and Wisconsin Department of Transportation. The DOT uses driver's license or state ID. In 2019, we mailed out 396 juror qualification questionnaires, and we issued 41 juror summons for a one-day trial, which is down quite a bit from prior years, which you'll see on the next section. The one jury trial was a 3-day trial with a total jury expense to the county of $2,908.72. The average cost for a 3-day trial in 2019 was $2,991.35, which included 2 bailiffs, but does not include any staff time. The bailiffs are paid out of the Sheriff's Department's budget. Jurors are currently paid $15 for a half-day trial and $30 for a full day of service fee plus their round-trip mileage. Clerks' offices answer questions and provide information on court processes to self-represented litigants without providing legal advice. Through the Consolidated Court Automation Program, also known as CCAP, county staff users are provided with computer software and hardware, including the courtroom, thereby saving costs to the county. CCAP also provides training to enhance the efficiency of the office and also supports the IT needs for the courts. Section 2, staffing. In 2019, the Clerk of Court's office consisted of a full-time deputy, which was Michelle Renderman, who was employed until May 10th, 2019, and she then accepted a full-time position as Deputy Treasurer with Pepin County. The full-time deputy position was vacant until July 15th, when Sue Stetler filled the vacancy. So it's just And we also have a fill-in staff person with a 2019 budget of $5,069, which is a correction from what I had in your report that I provided. I used 2020 number, and I apologize for that. This fill-in staff person is shared between the clerk of court's office and the judge's office, judge's office is a one-person office. So we help cover for each other. This person is utilized mainly during our criminal traffic intakes, jury trials, family court hearings, covering while staff is out of the office for conferences, vacations, and sick leave. This person worked additional amounts of time during the deputy position vacancy. Section 3 is kind of just an overview of our case filings and various things that we do, and I just wanted to highlight a few. Our traffic forfeitures were down, our traffic citations and forfeitures were down, our civil cases were up, and small claims hearings that are held before myself as clerk of court for the initial return date were up. Section 4. Just kind of quick highlight of that. My goal in 2019 was to contract with state debt collection, and due to the vacancy and getting behind on other projects, I did not fill that duty as of this point. Same thing happened to me in 2020, so this is still on my to-do list, but I really would like to get accomplished in the very near future. Section 5. In 2019, our total receipts were $364,624.82. $2,038,427.15 was issued to the Pepin County Treasurer. $7,280.88 was issued to the City of Durand, and $1,659.81 was issued to the Village of Pepin for payments received for citations issued by those agencies. Under state statute, municipalities are charged a $5 fee for each citation disposed each month, which is deducted from their monthly payout. In addition, $580.07 was issued to the collection agency, Professional Placement Services, for payments the office directly received from debtors for accounts that are at collections. And under the contract that was renegotiated a few years ago, we still have to pay them their percentage for any debts that we collect if the funds are not received directly from the Department of Revenue or from a warrant pickup when bond is posted. Other disbursements consist of $95,744.71, of which $15,055 were bond refunds, $2,000 guardian item deposits, $1675.71 refunds for overpayments or e-filing fees, $77,001 to sheriff sale deposits, and $13 unclaimed funds that were turned over to Pepin County Treasurer. Overall, our 2019 revenues were under budget by $6,134.95, and our 29 expenses were under budget by $31,633.92. $23,580.57 was related to the vacant deputy position. $2,403.07 was for other operating expenses, and $5,641.28 was for jury expenses. Can I entertain any questions?
Thank you. Anybody got any questions for the clerk?
Yes, this is John. I have one question for you. You had one jury trial in 2019. Was that a criminal trial or was it
It was a civil trial,
a civil trial?
3-day civil trial.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Audrey.
Yep.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Audrey. Okay, we'll move on. G, Highway Department, 2019 annual report. Pam, you good? Bob on, or Pam gonna do it?
I was not planning to do it, I was told Bob was going to be on. Bob, if you're that phone number, you have to do *6 to unmute. *6 will unmute you. You're supposed to have phone number muted, but *6 will unmute, and I will write down the rest of the agenda items.
Not sure who that is. Should I unmute him and ask?
Yeah. Bob, do you hear us?
Something's on. I'll have to do it next month. I guess.
Pam's calling you.
Bob yet?
Nobody's pulled up yet.
I'll give him mine. Oh, he didn't say anything to you? No. Nothing. I'm not sure who that is. You wanna defer until next month? You might as well.
Yeah, go on to the next one. Twenty 21 budget timeline review.
Okay, in your packet, can you hear me? Not really.
There we go. Okay, in your packet, you would have had the 2021 budget process calendar. That is the timeline, what we are going to see from now until when we adopt the budget. So, as you can see on this, in July and August, departments were given a heads up, asked to start gathering information, same process as last year, start getting quotes, planning for their 2021 needs. Then in, generally in mid-August, I get them their standard spreadsheets that they just need to plug the numbers into. We ended up a little bit later this year, so those spreadsheets came out to all the departments September 3rd and 4th, but should hopefully still get on all their, or did get on most of their committee meetings here in September. The one we did miss was law enforcement. Their meeting was September 1st, so I didn't have the sheets out to them quite in time. So that's why our deadline is by October 6th, because law enforcement meeting is, October 6th. So that should be the last of the budgets. Then, as I get them in from everybody, I will compile all the numbers. The other date on here is September 16th, which is obviously today. Today is when, under a future agenda item, we will ask the board here to provide input on fiscal guidelines and maybe some goals. So then, either October 8th or 15th, depending on when the next admin meeting is scheduled for, we will review all the compiled numbers, see where it all comes in, and if need be, if we don't quite have a balanced budget or ideas or means to know how to balance it, then the admin committee will have to meet a second time in October. And then by Tuesday, October 20th, the proposed budget notice needs to get sent to the Courier Wedge to be published on October 22nd in that newspaper. Then on November 10th is when the county boards will have the public hearing on the budget and decide, hopefully, to adopt the budget. Comments or questions?
Thanks, Pam. Any questions for Pam? Thanks again, Pam. Don't hear none. Is Bob on and all that, or yet? Do you see him, or? Technical difficulties? Was he on, or?
No, I've never seen him on, unless his phone number's there, 608 number.
Might be. Did you try to unmute him?
I just asked to unmute, but he's not, not yet.
comes on, we'll just keep going here. If he comes on, we'll go back to it, so. Okay, we'll move on to the business item, discuss and possible action. COVID-19 ongoing review of the government center facility. And then again, Pam, thank you.
So in your packet, Audrey did give you a copy to refresh your memory of the current guidance that we have for how this government center building is operating. As promised, there's a few items in here that I said I would revisit monthly until we get back to normal, or our new normal, whatever that is or becomes. So I will just kind of skim through the items that I believe we need to talk about. And if there's any that I missed that you noted in the document, by all means bring them up. But and keep in mind, this is from tonight until our next board meeting is October 21st. So if there's items at that time that still we need to discuss again and potentially determine if there's any changes you want to make depending upon the status of COVID at that time, we'll talk about it again. So first one being under the, on page 3, under limiting in-person interaction and physical contact section. On page 3, it talks about face coverings being required in public areas of the facility. I'll remind you that the current governor's order will expire September 28th. So keep in mind we're talking about what you would like in this facility through October 21st, which is the next board meeting. In talking with our public health nurse, and because of the increased school activity, thus increased exposure, and trickle down to our employees and residents in the area, in talking with the public health nurse, it was a recommendation to continue that mask order until revisited at the next board meeting per this particular document. Thoughts about that? Or do you want me to go through all of these and then go back and revisit it in whole? Okay. The next one that we'll potentially talk about is access to the facilities. Currently, we are limiting it to one door, and that goes, so that's item number 5 on page 3, and that really goes with item number 6 on page 4, is at the door that we are limiting it to. There's a screening questionnaire that we complete at that door. We have a doorbell with a speaker outside, because the door is currently remaining locked. So people ring the doorbell, and somebody, whoever they are here to see, goes to the door, screens them, and lets them in, and then they are served. And when we have a high volume event, such as potentially one of the intake days that Judge Clark mentioned, we will utilize a part-time person to help sit at the door. But as of this time, we have not had to do that quite yet. As he noted, the jury trial that we were going to have to staff the door for has settled. So now we're looking at his next date in October, potentially. For the first time, we put a part-time person at the door because of high volumes. So the question under this item would be continuing with the locked doors, screening them at the door, or if you chose to not do that, then a potential alternative would be having folks screened when they present to each particular department, and then keeping the contact tracing logs in those particular departments. Number 12, public meetings. I know it was expressed that you wanted to continue to offer online options, and board members could attend remotely, board members and committee members, and you would still be counted as a quorum with a full per diem through December 31st. And that's for both committee and county board meetings. Number 14, shared staff. We do have staff that work in both, for example, Pepin and Buffalo County, or we have staff that spend a couple days in Trumbull County and then are here, for example, in our RIA consortium. In the past, we had said, or for example, earlier tonight you heard from Ms. Burning, and she is split between Buffalo County and Pepin County for the CJS program. In the past, we had asked all of the shared staff to pick one location and to not come into both facilities to limit the exposure to both facilities in case there was an issue. We've had requests that they would like to now start coming into both facilities, and that is one in particular that will help facilitate better service, and that is one potentially that we would consider waiving. I know I talked a little bit with Tom, our board chair, and we do have a few of the staff that we have temporarily let start to trial that, just because it inhibited their ability to serve residents. Number 16, business travel restrictions. Currently, we have postponed all non-essential travel, and county funded travel has been limited. With the caveat that billing exceptions could be made with the approval of the administrative coordinator or the personnel director. So far to date, the only exception that we have granted so far is we had a communications correction officer that we delayed their training once, but we could not delay it twice, and they needed to obtain some training, and it was not online, so they needed the training to either be able to do their job, or they could no longer serve in that function until they received the mandatory training. So I discussed it with the sheriff, and we both agreed that we needed to approve that and facilitate that training. We had two other requests. One is pending. It's for a Veteran Service Office conference. I've urged her to see what training that includes, because she does serve a higher at-risk population here. So she, at this time, is still requested to go, but we have not approved that exception yet. We also had a request for the highway conference, but I learned recently that the commissioner has withdrawn his request and decided not to attend that particular conference. Vehicles, no more than 2 people should be in any vehicle. And on page 5, number 18, under personal travel, if a person is choosing to increase their risk per that document, then we have alternative work arrangements that we're requiring to assist in keeping our staff and the people we serve safer. And the last one is page 6, PPE, and that goes again back to the first thing we discussed, because that references again wearing of face coverings in the building. So those are the items to consider tonight by this group and get some direction. I don't know if you want to circle back to the face coverings or the facility access.
Yeah, let's go back to the face coverings and just go through them quick here, and we'll get back on here. So, number 4, face coverings after September 28th. And the next board meeting.
I would say stay status quo until our next board meeting, and then we can discuss it.
I agree.
I agree. I'm staying till the October 21st date and then discuss.
Okay, thanks. I'll go all of that too. Stay status quo on number 4. Go on to the next one.
So access to the facility.
I feel that we should remain the same.
I'd say status quo is that as long as it's working. Keep it working until we can make other arrangements.
Is it going okay for the staff? You've been able to rotation and handle it?
Yep, everybody's sharing the doorbell. A few folks are having issues with reading the directions and pressing it, but then somebody goes to the door and assists them in a timely manner to help them if needed. So yes, it's going okay.
Okay. Now, I'd go with status quo on number 12. Any other comments on 12? Status quo? Let's go to 14, shared staff. Yeah, Pam did talk to me about this, and there was a safety issue. You want to elaborate on that, shared health?
Yeah, potentially, well, you heard a little bit tonight about the CJS program, meeting with some of those folks, not necessarily meeting them in their home. It's much safer to have them come to the courthouse for our staff to facilitate some of those meetings and have the discussions and address the issues that program is intended to address. And then in human services with some of the consortiums, when we had all the staff teleworking, they weren't here to supervise anyway, but now that they are back in the building, then the supervisor for particularly the REA program, she is from Trumbull County, their home base, but then she does come here a day a week to work with the staff that are also on site. Seems to me I'm forgetting a couple, but it's situations like that where we have shared staff. Birth to 3, a couple of the human services programs. Oh, and also UW Extension. Those staff can come back in the building now, I believe. They're under the direction of state employees, but our extension staff is also split between 2 offices. So if they did want to come to either building to do their work, it would be another example.
I would suggest status quo with a waiver for those instances where there's safety issues.
Yeah, I think we status quo and then, do like we're doing with the, meetings, outside meetings, leave it up to the Pam and then the department head to determine if they should come in or not. Does that work?
Sure, we can review them case by case and
Yes.
grant them an exception if
Okay.
we feel it's safer that they come here.
So that one will be the first one we change, then we'll just add that to their case by case basis. Okay, we'll move on to the business, well, that's business travel. I guess leave that status quo. Any other?
I'd be with that status quo.
Okay, wasn't that it? Is it this one?
The vehicles, we leave them with no more than 2 people in any vehicle.
Hasn't been any problems, have there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, it's
Are there
basically,
a lot of occurrences where there's more than 2 people?
We don't have a lot of county vehicles, but just to the extent that we do. Highway is really one of the areas, and then ADRC, some other transportation vehicles for the
Okay.
transportation program.
Has it caused any complications for them having a limit of 2?
Nobody has said a single word about it.
Okay.
It seems to be working, so.
okay. Well, that, all of them, I guess, the only one we changed was 14. So I guess we want to make a motion on this to face status quo except for number 14, the case by case basis with the Pam and the department head.
Tom, I have a question.
You're,
We can't hear
we
you.
can't hear you, Chris.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question regarding the face coverings effective September 1st. I understand employees, personnel in the government center are to wear face coverings when in public meeting spaces. Is that correct?
A lot of it did during, a meeting, they were 6 feet apart. You know, I've seen that some.
It will be required that everyone in the facility properly wear face coverings in all public areas of the facility. And if they don't, what are the repercussions?
Currently, the governor's order would supersede any local guidance such as is in this document, but then that's why I asked after September 28th that this document does go in place. As far as repercussions, any employee that has not done it, we simply, we haven't had an issue with compliance, I guess, put it that way.
Are county board supervisors considered employees?
No, they're elected officials.
Are elected officials required under this policy to wear face coverings indoors?
This policy is applicable to employees. I only have guidance. I can only issue guidance over
I can do
employees.
that.
Correct. So what guidance do we have for county board supervisors to safely meet during meetings in the government center?
There's nothing in this.
There also was
Chris, I don't really think it's been a problem. I haven't ever been there where I don't feel safe.
Well, unfortunately, Supervisor Andrews, it's not whether you feel safe. We have a duty as, I believe, the board to protect the individuals in the government center, employees included, as well as supervisors. We are very careful in limiting, it looks like, document any individuals, taxpayers, non-taxpayers from coming into the building. And I believe there's a reason for that because we see see a risk that's posed from the virus. And in doing so, I think we have to be cognizant as our role and our duty and the governor's mandate. So which is face coverings when you are indoors. So I think that's tonight's meeting. It appears that everyone has a face covering, which is, I'd love to see that. Our meeting for the highway committee yesterday morning, that wasn't the case. So I think it's important that we protect the employees. The employees protect us, the supervisors, when we are in that public government building. Thank you. No further comment.
I respect this in her thoughts, but I think that the issue of a mask, everybody has a different thought. And what the rules are in the courthouse, I think they've been taken into consideration. I haven't heard of any problems in the courthouse. So that's my thought.
Any other comments? So, you want to put this?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I just want to make sure that that this got covered. On page 5 where it says employee scheduling and remote working, was the date changed there from that September 1st date to October then?
No, all staff did, effective September 1st, come back into the building, and any that want telework going forward from September 1st, there was a telework policy that was adopted by the board, and that language was added to the handbook, so now employees fall under the handbook language for telework, and they would some who filled out new requests either for situational or routine telework per our handbook policy now.
Well, how come, it got changed? Did you have a big outbreak in Durand, or? I mean, is there a lot of things going on there? I don't know.
I can't hear you, Jack.
Huh?
He can't hear you.
Well, we had it set up for September. I was wondering if we had a big outbreak in Durand. Is that why they changed?
Yeah, we can't hear anything that's being said.
I can't with a mask.
Well, that's irrelevant to this here. So we'll move on here now. I entertain a motion to make the changes we just spoke about. Just change number 14 to the case-by-case basis with the.
So
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Angie, second by Tessa. Any other discussion?
Let's just say one thing. The virus really is going to dictate any deadlines. So I think for us to, talk about revisiting is a good idea. But I really think it's important that we keep in mind that the virus is going to dictate our dates.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Rebecca Hanson?
Well, I just grabbing the mic to do our roll call here. Sit tight.
Rebecca Hanson?
Yes.
Keys Winkler?
No.
Paul Hook?
Yes.
Michelle Pepin?
Yes.
Tessa King?
Yes.
Bill Ingram?
Yes.
Tom Miller?
Yes.
John Andrews?
Yes.
Kevin Kozak?
Yes.
John McDonough?
Yeah.
Angie Boxell?
Yes.
Michael Wright?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, B, business 8, 2021 budget priorities.
I guess that's me again. Every year I'm accused of being the bearer of bad news, and that's definitely not my intent, or this just is not an easy task generally to balance the budget, so I can't say it's the most fun we're going to have, but I definitely don't intend to be the bearer of bad news. So at any rate, several items. Every year I do come to the board, generally 1 month earlier, but we still have time now, so I come to the board and ask what your priorities are. I'll review a few things, because I know we have quite a few new faces in the group since we've done the last budget, so I will review a few things that are in the budget, a few assumptions that we make every year, and then a few things that the board can let me know, yes, we intend to continue that practice or policy for the 2021 budget. So with that being said, I want to remind everybody that the current tax levy limit proposed upon us and other municipalities by the state is basically the greater of a 0% increase or the percentage change in our net new construction valuation from year to year. So for the 2021 budget, you'll hear me refer to something called new money. That is the amount that we can increase our levy for if we have any increased expenditures that you want to roll into the budget. The new money, as I'll call it, that you have for the 2021 budget, or the amount you can increase the levy by, is $36,949. That is about 1% of the net. It's calculated off the equalized value. That's a little bit better than in 2020. We only had 0.6%. However, we were used to, in 2017, 18, and 19, about 1.5%. So that equaled about 55,000. So last year was a little bit of a shock at only having 23,000, but now in 2021 it did rebound a little bit. So we'll have close to about $37,000 of new money. So, keeping in mind that wages and fringe benefits are about 50% of the overall county budget. With that being said, the administrative committee is working through, with regards to wages, they're working through the results of a wage and salary survey. So in prior years, we've looked at the CPI and then had some discussions around employee wage increases. I'm not going to say that potentially that won't happen this year, but we also have the results of, or we are starting to discuss the results of the wage and salary survey, and I believe October 1st is the next admin committee meeting where we will discuss that further. The current CPI is 1.56%, and that's a figure that WERC does, which is the Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission, and that's what they are forecasting it to be effective January 2021. We do also get other data and statistics, and the public sector is projecting wage increases within their entities. In a recent published study by Krause and Detman, they're forecasting a 1.47% increase for public sector employers in Wisconsin. Again, no 2021 decision yet has been made, but that is obviously an important number that I will need to roll the budget together. With regards to health insurance benefits, that's also another pretty large number that rolled into budget. Again, the administrative committee reviewed the 2021 insurance plans and the costs offered by ETF. Currently, Pepin County does participate in the state ETF plan. We also did have employees fill out questionnaires and applications and submitted them to an external entity to get quotes, as if we would not participate in an ETF plan, but we would go with a different insurance company to offer plans to our employees. To date, they have not found somebody looking at our employees and those applications to quote and be interested in taking our plan. So the administrative committee was presented with the ETF plans and costs. They determined that no adjustment would be made to the plan offered by the county or to the county portion of the premium expense. On average, just for a little background information, ETF announced a 4% increase in overall premiums in plans available to Pepin County employees. Pepin County will still offer a low deductible plan to its employees as it is reasonably affordable options at competitive prices. However, the plan that about 96% of Pepin County employees have chosen to participate in had about a 10% increase overall in premiums. However, those premiums and the portion that the employees would pay still remains the low-cost option for our employees and is still a reasonable amount to have to pay for that particular type of plan. So the administrative committee did make the decision to stick with that plan and keep the county's expense even with no change. Did I summarize that correctly? Anybody who's on the admin committee?
Right.
Okay. Retirement plan contribution expense, there's no change in the required county contribution except for 0.1% for protected class employees. So that's a pretty small expense. So basically, ETF and the percent that they are requiring the county to contribute on the employees' behalf remained status quo, so no change for 2021. Moving on to capital expenditures, over the past 4 to 5 years, we've used a levy strategy to fund our capital expenditures with debt. So basically, all of the capital expenditures that are approved within the committee and the board, we then add that dollar amount up and we fund it with debt. That is one strategy that many counties use, as debt service does remain one of the few adjustments to levy. So to put it in perspective, in 2019, that was about $170,000. And in 2020, that was about $189,000. That'll be one thing I have started here to get your input whether or not we'll continue to use that strategy in 2021. If you choose not to, that would be an additional approximately $189,000 or whatever that amount of capital expenditures are requested in the 2021 budget to have to cover with levy, and that would proceeds from debt. The surplus. Our goal is always to minimize the surplus that we apply to balance the budget. However, in recent years, we've also been successful in seeing growth and stability in our surplus amounts. So in the 2020 budget, that was the first year where we had achieved limits established in the county fund balance policy, and we actually had an amount of cash or surplus of approximately $72,000 that we had to apply to balance the budget, and we could have went up to $561,000 of surplus to use to balance the budget. In 2020, we used $354,000 to balance the budget. Historically, even though we use those surplus numbers, our department managers have been very good about either finding new revenue sources or being very conservative in their expenses. And historically, we generally don't have to use a lot of that surplus. We find other ways during the year to cover it. However, when we roll the budget together, we do need to have a balanced budget, and so surplus is the option we use to balance it. Like I said, in 2020 it was about $354,000. In 2019 budget it was about $300,000, to give you kind of a perspective. So that'll be another question. Do we continue to utilize the surplus within the amounts similar to the 2019 and 2020 budgets? If you want to, there potentially should be a little bit of room if you did want to increase that a little bit, or if you want to decrease it, though there generally will need to be some cuts somewhere, or there would be some cuts or some additional revenue or something to cover the amount that you would then be saying we needed to cover with levy versus surplus. Other hurdles for 2021, as we've been talking about a couple times on the agenda tonight, COVID. It's obviously had an impact on our expenses. However, some good news, not always very bad news, some good news with regards to sales tax. Many counties have been seeing sales tax hits. However, Pepin County, our sales tax has been remaining stable and as expected. So I guess the phrase shop local is what I'm hearing is occurring, and it has helped maintain our sales tax revenues. The other thing that initially you maybe heard me talk about that was concerning was cash flow from property tax collections based on people being laid off or whatever economic impact was potentially experienced by folks with regards to their jobs. However, property tax collections here in Pepin County have been comparable and even a little bit better than they were in 2019. So again, that's good news from a cash flow perspective. For COVID, the case counts that Pepin County has seen. The case counts have been manageable. We have incurred some additional expenses to cover the increased workload. However, we have received additional grant funds to date to cover the additional staffing we've needed, the supplies, cleaning supplies, other things like that, that we have needed. It's inevitable that other secondary fiscal impacts will occur or may have occurred, but I'm optimistic that we've also seen some other expense savings in 2020 in areas such as meetings or travel, so as not to have significant overall impact on our 2020 results, which then would cause us to use surplus to cover those impacts, and then would have a rollover impact on our 2021 budget and funds available for 2021. Other challenges that we are seeing in the 2021 budget, you've probably heard discussions the last 2 years about human services and their placement costs. Those costs significantly increased in 2019. Those of you who are board members for the last board term, you may recall an additional $120,000 that was transferred to the Human Services Fund. However, in addition to that $120,000, their overall expenses still exceeded budget by about $150,000, and that solely was due to additional placement costs, legal expenses related to those placements, and other related expenses to placements. However, again, good news, I've had an opportunity to see their initial budget estimates for 2021, and their 2021 levy request is currently equal to their 2020 levy request before the impact of any wage increases. So they've been able to find revenues, manage their expenses to not hopefully come to the board with an increase in their levy request for 2021 as compared to 2020. So that is the last large thing on my list. So if we want to circle back and get any input on any of the items I've mentioned, especially capital expenditures and continuing to utilize that as a strategy, keeping a constant level of surplus consistent with the last 2 years, and or any other goals or areas that you may all have that you would like us to focus on with our department directors as we compile the proposed 2021 budget.
Okay, thanks Pam, very good job. Personally, I think a lot of the questions we can't answer until we get all the numbers down, and we've got a lot of, I call them tools in the toolbox here to work with when they do come in, but any other comments?
I have a question, Tom, on the health insurance premiums. Did I understand that the county employees did not see any increase or will not see any increase in premiums?
No, that's not, they are gonna see it, the county is not gonna, we pay a flat amount, and the increase will go on to the employee.
And what is that increase amount from the previous year's budget to what's planned or in the works?
I think Mickey's on here and she could give you specific numbers, but for the 96% of our employees who selected a particular plan, I think their contribution, the single and the family, it was close to doubling. However, they were very affordable in 2020. I think Mickey's on and she would have specific numbers.
John, Mickey?
10% or something.
The total premiums increased 10%.
Employee or any cost to the county?
The total premium charged for a monthly plan, single or family. The county pays a portion of that, but the county is keeping their expense equal. So any increase will go around the portion that the employee pays.
And what percentage do we estimate that to be?
Let's see, Mickey on here yet, I know she's here, but generally about 80-20. County pays about 80% and the employees end up paying about 20%.
Nick, you on?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So it depends on what plan the employee takes, because they have different networks to choose from. The one that most of the employees are on, their rate will go up about 10%.
And the county will not see any increase?
The county share is staying the same as it was in 2020. There's no change for 2021 for the county.
And there's no percentage change?
portion actually went down, if I understood it right?
In 2020, the plan that most of the employees chose did go have a rate deduction compared to 2019.
Did the county see any increase in coverage?
In expense?
Yes, did the county
No.
take on any?
The county pays a flat dollar amount for single coverage and for family, and that rate has not changed for at least the last 3 years. It could be longer than that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I got one question, Pam. What is the surplus right now? What do we have to work with?
I'm actually waiting, it's pending our audit results to calculate that, but as of the end of 2020, we had 561,000 that we could have used up to. As soon as I get the audit results for 2019, then I'll do the final calculation for, that'll be available for 2021. I'll bring that back in front of this board next month, so you'll know when you're looking at the budget in November. I'll bring you in October the numbers, so you'll know how much you have to work with.
And one other question I have. Right now, there's no freeze on personnel, but I think it's probably not a good idea for department heads to put new personnel or a new position into the budget without it going on as a separate issue, so that it isn't part of the budget that we vote on, that it's a separate issue. I know that's happened in the past. I just think that's it's hard to vote on a budget when that has been done. I've just seen it done in the past, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where a department simply puts in their budget a new position and goes through their committee, and it never goes to the board until the budget.
I think, I don't remember when that handbook language went in, but 2 or 3 years ago, that if there's any new FTEs that will be proposed in the following budget, they do need to come before the committee and to the board in advance. The only thing I'm aware of for this 2021 budget that would be a new FTE is, I think Tessa recently talked about the CAN program that that consortium is going away. And so we've done the calculation, I forget the exact title of the person, but we've done the calculation there where we have duties we're going to have to take back in-house because that consortium is going away. So we will take the money that we contributed to that consortium and then use to pay, we'll need our own employee to handle those. But other than that, that is the only mention of any FTE change for the 2021 budget that I've been made aware of so far.
Any other questions?
And I'll make sure that at Human Services, they meet later this month and review their budget. I'll make sure that that is specifically mentioned at the Human Services meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I guess everybody's kind of in agreement, and like I just said, we got a lot of tools in the toolbox here, and the numbers come in, we'll use what we gotta use to make it work. Unless somebody has many other ideas, or there's one they don't want us to use, now's the time to speak.
Well, I think anytime we, I think it's always prudent that we are cognizant of other people's dollars, and I think that's ultimately all of our goals is to be fiscal stewards. But I think to continue to borrow and feel like we have a surplus might give a false sense of financial security. So I would be hesitant to continue to go in debt, let's say. So if we have to reduce services to keep those taxes down, that's something that we might have to consider.
You want to make a comment on that, Pam, how that's handled, that we pay that off, so we can levy it?
Yeah, generally what happens is, debt service is an adjusting item that you will see to levy. So as we pull those out, that is one way levy does adjust up or down based on the debt service required. And of note, we have been able to, most of those we roll on a 5-year equipment life, and we have been able to free up funding through different operational things we've done over the years and pay quite a few of those off. Actually, all of them so far that we have done using that theory, we have been able to pay off early for the funds.
But that would take into consideration. When we do-
Also, did I hear you, Tom, I have one other question. Did I hear Pam correctly that we're on track for the sales tax revenue this year compared to last year?
Correct, we did the 2020 budget based off of 2019 actual collections to date, and we are on target as budgeted so far. And in comparison to what we collected last year at the same time, everything seems to be as we were expecting without any negative impact due to COVID like other counties have been seeing.
And those collections are on time?
The state pays right about the 15th of every month. There's a normal 2-month lag, and they pay right about the same day every month. The money comes from the state, and yes, it's been paid as normal.
So we have received payment up to July? Is that what you're saying, a 2-month lag?
Mm-hmm.
We will see, let's say, September's sales tax dollars in November?
Correct, 2-month lag.
Thank you.
Okay, well, everybody's in agreement, then.
Tom, it's very difficult on my end to hear you.
I'll try to speak up a little more, is that better?
That is better.
Okay. Is there any other questions? We'll just, wanna let Pam go ahead with what she just reported on. I don't think we need any motion or anything, and we'll, unless somebody wants to add some other stuff to this, we'll just go ahead with it.
If I can circle back to the sales tax, I'm just thinking to make sure I don't. Sales tax are paid, so the ones that go through the end of July, so through July 31st will be the October payment, because there's 2 full months in there. So July, August, September, then October 15th will be for the month of July. You'll receive in October.
But that's the norm.
That's the norm, and the state has been paying that all on time.
So everything's normal. Okay then, any other questions?
And I also heard, Pam, you state property taxes are coming in on time.
Yeah, Patty Shar, the treasurer, had reported to me that she looked at the amount delinquent at the same time last year, and we actually have a lower balance of delinquent taxes than we had at the same time last year. So collections actually were better than the previous year.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll move on here to, we're gonna skip number 9, so we're on to announcements, number 10. Highway facility breaking ceremony is scheduled for Monday, September 21st at 10 a.m. Pam, you got all the people here, or else gonna be held?
Yes, if board members could RSVP, we do have a certain amount of gold shovels and hard hats. So if people want to RSVP so we can make sure we have enough for folks attending, that would be great. Yeah, everybody should have that invite in their packet.
What was the date on that again?
Monday, the 21st, next Monday at 10 a.m. at the site in Arkansas. I heard they moved some machinery in today, so if they moved any dirt, I don't know.
And we did not spend any money renting a tent or anything like that, so if it's horrible, horrible weather, then there is a rain date on there for the next day. If there's a little bit of rain, bring your umbrella. We'll be there.
just gonna be short and sweet, got the PR people there, and, so they're all welcome. Any other announcements?
Who should they contact, you or myself, or for requests?
Announcements, is this the time, as it was stated previously?
Can't hear you.
Is this also, replacing the communication part of the meeting? No.
Communication, so this is any announcements other than what's on the agenda?
Okay, I guess I have a question. You had stated something at the highway shop, or the highway meeting this week, on the amendment that was signed after the admin special meeting for the gross maximum
Price?
price.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, we got Pam here, she'll do a better job than I
I believe that would have been on your timeline last month, when we signed our original contract. There was an open amount in there that once we had all the budget and we put everything out to bid, then we lock our construction manager into a guaranteed maximum price. So that is an addendum that we were expecting. It's per our contract, and it locks the construction manager into a maximum price, and they are at risk.
Okay. Tom had reported that, Aaron had signed, a document, that there was something that was caught, that there were some extra charges that could be, added on.
The amendment.
And, was just curious if Corp Council had reviewed that original document.
Yes, Corp Council reviewed it in full. There's some terminology in the construction world, what you call an allowance, and the impact that allowances have on exceeding a GMP. And so our Corp Council did review it in full, and we negotiated the risk off with the county.
Thank you.
Any more announcements? Hearing none, next meeting will be October 21st. Am I on? Yeah, I missed it. And any, well, future agenda items, obviously the budget. Anybody else got anything?
I'll just be sure if you could RSVP back either Thursday or Friday, probably to Audrey. Is that okay, Audrey?
Sure.
If you intend to join us on the 21st for our short and sweet ceremony. There will be a more elaborate open house once the facility is finished, but this is just an initial groundbreaking ceremony.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.